I'm a lifelong learner, and I'm always wanting to grow and expand myself and learn new skills and up level. So doing these kinds of projects that are within my expertise, but maybe something bigger than I've ever done before, challenges me in ways that feel good to me. Sometimes it can be a little bit scary, but that's good. It means I'm growing.
Yeah. Growth is right on the edge of like pain or being scared. That's where growth is. So yeah, I agree with you on that for sure. Welcome to the Real Estate Mogul MD podcast. Thanks for tuning in and taking control of your financial future. This is a show where we not only motivate and inspire, we give you actionable real-world experience to help you live life by design. You'll hear journeys and stories from other physicians, investors, coaches, consultants, and entrepreneurs. And now, here's your host, Brett Riggins. What if your next investment didn't just produce returns? It built a community in a tropical paradise where people could actually thrive in the last seasons of their lives. In this episode, you'll hear how today's guest is raising $7 million to launch a 55-plus wellness-focused community in Panama, a debt-free, ground-up development rooted in purpose, simplicity, and human connection. I'm joined again by Anne-Michelle Wan, founder of Passive Profit Partners, who's turning decades of real estate experience into a legacy project, one that blends conscious design, slow living, and real returns for a select group of values-aligned investors. Let's get into this. Anne-Michelle, welcome to the show. This is your second time on the podcast. We are excited to have you here. And again, yes, we want to live vicariously through you. Please tell us how beautiful the weather is where you're at.
Certainly. A pleasure to be here, Brett. And I am so happy and grateful that you invited me twice. Mm-hmm. Well, yes, the weather is incredibly gorgeous here all the time. And today the sun is out and the sea is calm and it's partially cloudy with a light breeze. It's like perfect weather, what you imagine when you imagine perfect weather. Mm-hmm. It's not too hot. It's not too cold. The breeze is blowing. It is humid here, but you don't feel it because of the trade winds. So It's an amazing, stunning place.
Awesome. And as you're saying that, I can hear the fronds like rustling and the air moving through them. That's amazing. So thank you for that. But for the listeners who may have not caught that the first episode with you, Anne-Michelle, tell us first a little bit about where you're at and just a quick backstory on why you're there.
Okay. Well, I am in a place called Bocas del Toro, Panama. It's an archipelago of islands off the coast of Panama in the Caribbean. And my dream since I was a teenager was to live in the Caribbean in a cottage over the sea. And now I have made that happen, and we've been living here happily for the last 15 years full time. Part of the time I worked, now I'm retired, and I focus on my passion projects. And my passion projects today are providing multifamily housing for seniors and their kids, the digital nomads. And that's my project now.
And that's amazing. And that's definitely what I want to key in on in this episode as well, to learn a little bit more about the real estate investment side of that. And I'm going to throw some questions at you, kind of just being transparent with the process, the people, the capital raise, the goods, the bads, all of that stuff. But hey, what did you used to be before you became a real estate investor?
I owned 2 hair salons and I was a hairdresser.
That's awesome.
I always did real estate on the side, but I didn't become an agent until I sold those salons.
Yep. Awesome. Well, congratulations on that and the journey. And again, congratulations on not only having a goal, but pushing for it until it happens. And now you're there in the beautiful Caribbean. I absolutely love it. I can still hear the palm trees in my head. This passion project that you have, and you mentioned this before, over 55 community project. What inspired you specifically to have this concept? You mentioned the children, like the nomad children, and what gap is that filling in Panama?
Well, what inspired me to have it was living here and watching what's happening here. expats are moving here. They're retiring here. When they come, they're relatively healthy. They don't have too much concern about it. Healthcare here is cheap. You can go to the hospital and, for a few bucks, so, you can pay out of pocket because it doesn't cost very much. But if you start to need something like assisted living, say you have an accident and you're in a cast and you need a little help dressing or doing your daily activities, or you have a pet and you can't walk right now and somebody needs to walk your pet, those kinds of assisted things, there's nothing here other than hiring just in-home help to do that. And people do some of that. They hire, a full-time person maybe to help them. And there's no housing like we have in the States and other countries that you can actually live in, that provides all those amenities and helps you thrive and enhance your well-being, as a concept. And I wanted to provide that for my community and elevate the community in the process. As well as what I've noticed also while I was working was that not only were the parents moving here and then their kids would come and visit and go, oh my God, it's beautiful. And they would move here as well, but part-time because they still work and they'd have a family compound. And there's also a shortage of that kind of housing for digital nomads where they can have a comfortable place with good internet to work that's not super expensive, like an Airbnb. If somebody wants to come for a week, that's fine. But if they want to come for 3 months, it gets pretty expensive. So I thought I'd kill two birds with one stone and provide a community, a small community that had housing that accommodates both of those generations, where people could thrive in their elder years and get the help they need and the community they need, the connection, because one of the things that happens when you get older is that you feel isolated and lonely, especially if you get sick. So creating the community where you can always get help, having transportation when you need it, those kinds of things, and then having a place when your kids come to visit for them to stay, but not with you.
Mm-hmm. Very, very cool. So now we've got this idea, right? How did you go from idea to execution, and what initial steps did you take to test or validate this concept?
Oh my gosh. Well, the first thing I did was connect with one of my expert buddies who is a developer in Panama and has been for 27 years. His name is Michael Cobbs, and he has a company called ECI Development. And they have been building resort housing and villas and all kinds of housing in Panama, Honduras, Nicaragua, and Belize. And so I knew he would know how to do a development, and I could customize it for the elder part of it. So I hired him as a consultant, and he told me a bunch of steps to do. And we did feasibility studies, demographics. He helped me do the business plan, and the spreadsheets and all of that I've prepared for my investors to look at. On my end, I formed a company called Passive Profit Partners, where it's basically an LLC with, a managing partner and limited partners. The investors are the limited partners, and I am the managing partner. And together, we put the money in the bank, and I invest my own money as well. And everybody has a share, and that company will own the properties, the land and the buildings. Now, those buildings don't exist here in this part of Panama, and I don't know if they exist anywhere in Panama, so we have to build them. I've also, in my experience, and am still building and selling one house a year. So I'm very familiar with the construction process. I know all the construction people here, who's good and who's not, and who can handle a project of this size. And so I've been working on a plan with my contractor who builds my houses. I've just finished my third house here, and it is for sale. The other two are sold. And we're working on a conceptual plan for the community, because I want it to be not just this big corporate building like we have in the States. It's going to be sort of a tiny home community. It's still in process of being designed, and worked on, and it's still going to change a lot as we move along. But basically, the idea is to have separate tiny homes, maybe a few row houses, and maybe even a small condo building for the digital nomads. And it'll have a big community area that will have where all the activities will be, where you'll be able to visit your doctor, where you'll be able to play pickleball. Haven't decided if that's going to be inside or outside yet. There'll be an outdoor area with a pool and a barbecue and a community garden, and lots of different activities for people to be in or not if they choose. So we're still, I haven't really started the true architectural drawings because we need to confirm the land before we do that. And as far as the land goes, that's one of the steps. I searched and searched all of Isla Colón, which I knew that's where I wanted it to be. That's where the airport is. That's where the hospital is, for a suitable piece of land. And I've located 2 different ones that could work, one smaller than the other. And one investor group that I'm working with wants to fund one of them, and a different investor group say they want to fund another one. I recently met with the seller of that land, the bigger piece of property. It's about 5 acres, or just under 3 hectares. And it happens to back up to the hospital here, which is ideal. It also is across the street from the ocean and a short walk to a small beach. So I've got my eye on that piece of land. I've spoken with the seller. He's told me a price that he would like to have. And as soon as my investors fund the company, we'll move forward with purchasing that land as a first step. Once that's done, I'll be able to work with the contractors and my consultant to develop the actual architectural plans and start the pre-development.
Yeah, it's always a juggling match. And not that I'm a professional developer. I've been through the process. And yeah, it's always, was it the horse before the cart? And then, you got to get so far into this thing, the cost, the skin to play, the pay to play piece. So it's crazy. But what I'm hearing is you're building a community. And not only in that community of the project itself, but a community in the investment itself too. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the capital stack. You mentioned passive profit partners, and that's something that's there. I'm not sure if you were using that for your single family builds or not. No, not yet. But there's this new thing, passive profit partners. How does that look, and what is the actual structure of the deal? You mentioned the limited partnership. So is this like a syndication? Are you also using debt in parallel with the syndication? Tell us a little bit more about that.
Okay. Well, I'm trying to keep this as simple as possible, almost as if you were gathering your family around you and your friends and putting their money together and just putting it together and doing it, right? So each investor will own a piece of the company, which will own the land and the buildings. So you're a direct owner, and you get the benefits of direct ownership with a K1, just like, but it is a Panamanian company. So I'm not sure if they call it a K1 here, but we'll issue something that works for U.S. and taxes. Mm-hmm. Most of my investors are from the U.S. So that percentage, everything is still a little bit in flux because it's such at the beginning. Yep. My original idea was to do an 80-20 split, managing partner 20%, limited partners 80%. I'm playing around with the idea of a preferred return and a waterfall, but nothing is written in stone just yet. As I gather investors, I think they're going to tell me what they would like to see, what makes them want to invest in this, and I can probably accommodate that if it's reasonable. So, like I said, I'm going to try to keep it as simple as possible. This one investor group that I'm working with, 2 guys that own a mortgage company in the U.S., they said, no, they don't want to do an 80-20 split. They want to do a 70-30 split. That's their feeling of fair. So I'm okay with that. What else would you like to know about that?
No, it's great. I think that's a great, and I completely understand being so early in a project like this. There's so many moving pieces, so many moving parts, different relationships. So it's hard definitely to pin stuff down. I think just kind of understanding your process through there, because I'm hoping that there are listeners who are interested in investing, but also who are interested in developing too. So sharing that story and that process, I think, brings a lot of value to the listeners. It does to me. I've been there. I know the feeling. So I can definitely appreciate that. And then, like, having a question, well, is there going to be debt involved? Do you know your total raise? Are you going to be able to raise that specifically with partners and then refi, or what's your direction with debt?
Yes, that's a great question. Let's address that. So again, I'm using a unique proposition to do that because this is Panama and I want to make sure that I keep my investors' money safe.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm doing a capital raise of $7 million and I want to raise all of that in cash. And build the buildings and buy the land with cash, and only take the money back out with debt after the building is built, filled, and optimized. And that will take 3 to 5 years. Then we'll apply for a bank loan and pull out 50%, and only have a 50% LTV, and we should be able to get all or most of the investors' money out, and then we will enjoy the property debt-free. That's my plan, as opposed to doing debt from the beginning and having payments or incorporating those payments into the loan and all of that complicated stuff.
Risky too. Yeah. And it's development is difficult because the return is pushed, right? Because it's all expense.
It is. Yep.
And then finally, once you have a performing asset, and then you still got to book it, you gotta lease it, like sell it. It's a lot to get to that point. How have you been going after investors? Like, you're sitting in this beautiful place in the Caribbean, and probably most of the people that you're talking with are in the States. So how does that work? What are you doing?
Well, first I go after my sphere of influence, and being in the real estate business for 40 years, I have a pretty big sphere of influence, and so I just started reaching out to, friends, family, acquaintances, business partners from the past, all kinds of stuff, and letting it be known what I'm doing, even talking about it in my community. I held a little event in my community last year and invited anyone who might be interested or could spread the word. And then I've been focusing mainly on optimizing my LinkedIn profile and posting on LinkedIn on a regular basis. And the current, I think I met you there. Mm-hmm. I think I met this other investor, Mark Jacobs, there. He was actually referred to me by another person I met on LinkedIn. So I'm developing a LinkedIn community, and I don't need that many. I don't need thousands and thousands and to be a big influencer. I just need a small, effective group. So mainly, as far as advertising, I have a website I can refer people to give them an overview of the project. It's basically a landing page. And that's what I've been doing for the past, year and a half.
That's awesome. And what, in your experience now, what advice would you give somebody who's trying to raise funds? Not only just raise funds, but raise funds internationally for the first time. What are some of the biggest misconceptions that you've come across and lessons that you've learned so far?
Well, one, don't give up.
Resilience.
Part of the reaching success is rolling with the punches and not giving up, right? Because you're going to get obstacles that come in, and you have to build a lot of trust, and it takes time. And you have to trust yourself that you're making the right decisions, because you're going to be handling other people's money, and they need to trust you. Mm-hmm. I have one partner that builds the single family homes with me, and he is the best partner ever. And I met him during my real estate days as a customer originally, and he wanted to do some investments. So we formed this company to build the single family homes. And he just, he trusts me 100%. And that makes me feel really good because I am trustworthy, and just sends me a couple $100,000 to get started. When we first started, I needed like $200,000 to get going, and our agreement was that he would build it, I would manage it and get it sold, do all the steps, and we would make the split 50-50. We kept it very simple. We're still doing that today. And so he sent me $200,000 just like that on a wire, and now it's been 5 years, and we're on our third house.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, building off those kinds of relationships, it's huge. First of all, starting those relationships, but it really is a test to your integrity, the investor's integrity, the communication level that's there. Because even if you find that, I'll call it a unicorn in the fundraising world, even if you find that unicorn where that they trust you out of the gate, you don't have to jump through all of these hoops. It is so much more to be able to nurture that relationship and grow together. It's a beautiful thing. I have relationships like that in my world. Someone of those ones be like, what? Somebody sent you 200, 300,000. You're crazy. No, it's possible.
It's possible.
And it comes down to who you are. And just the fact that you got it not once, twice, 3 times, or however many times you guys have done these projects, it goes to show the integrity that you have, the person that you are. And I always say that money doesn't change somebody. It elevates who they are, the good or the bad. So it's building that foundation is a great way. And fundraising is a journey. Yes, keep it going. Persistence, resilience. You don't need a whole bunch. You just need quality relationships that can really help, get keyed in. I want to bounce into the construction piece here and where we're at.
Thing I want to say, if you don't
mind,
ma'am. About helping somebody get started. Join groups. Groups that you're gonna be around people doing the same thing, that you'll meet people who want to invest. Like what's that one? Bigger Pockets, right? Go to those seminars, go to their meetings, if you can. I only am able to go virtually at this moment, but I also have international groups, like international living and people, and I go and I hang out and create relationships with those people.
Yes. Meetups, masterminds, in any way that you can expand your associations, and don't limit yourself to being inside the box for only real estate too. I mean, you can meet people in different groups that was, hey, I've been thinking about that. So great point, great ad. And back to the operations construction timeline. I know we're early on. You talked about having land picked out, nothing in paper, no option or anything like that. But tell me a little bit about, I guess I can answer this question without even asking it. I would be, if I were you, I would be leaning on your developer, your consultant who's been through these processes when it comes to entitlement and stuff like that. So the acquisition would be they'd be helping you say, hey, how are we going to acquire this? How are we going to put this in paper? Right, that can mitigate our risk, mitigate the risk of our capital as well, to decrease the amount of it. Right? Am I right? You'd be working with that developer, that experienced developer, to get through this process?
Oh yeah, I'll be working heavily with them. We'll be basically paying them a consulting fee to work with us, and they're actually very interested in maybe doing a project up in the not in the Boquete area, but down a little closer to the city of David, and they own some land there. So this is all like this huge, wide funnel that's filtering down into these different projects with different people. That's going to be bigger than I ever imagined.
That's amazing. How about pre-sales?
Oh, pre-sales will happen. There's going to be 2 sectors. There's going to be a build for rent only and a build for sale part. So those are... So yes, and when we get the for sale parts, we will pre-sale for sure. And that's where my real estate experience comes in, from selling property for many, many years.
Yeah. Our development project was 20 unit site condos, and our structures were inside of the existing code. We were actually able to do 4 units together. So it was kind of like these quadplexes. We had parking under. It was very, very cool. One of them was like an ADA accessible kind of thing. So it was barrier free. And what we did is we actually sold 2 of the 4, pre-sold 2 of the 4 before we even broke ground, really. And that's, boy, as an investor, that feels so good when you have those pre-sales. But when it comes down to it, in the world of real estate, the pre-sales really don't mean anything, right? I mean, it's a piece of paper. Yeah, maybe if they back out, you could litigate against them and, get their deposit. But when it comes down to it, for the most part, it's really a handshake thing. It can mitigate some risk, but when it comes down to it, the risk is still on the table, right?
Yeah, the risk is still on the table. And that's where I'll lean heavily again with my consultants, because they've done pre-sales for many, many years in their units. And I'll get their processes and systems and procedures in place before I even start.
All right. So what's been the most personally fulfilling part of this project, leading this project so far?
For me, I'm a lifelong learner, and I'm always wanting to grow and expand myself and learn new skills and up level. So doing these kinds of projects that are within my expertise, but maybe something bigger than I've ever done before, challenges me in ways that feel good to me. Sometimes it can be a little bit scary, but that's good. It means I'm growing.
Yeah. Growth is right on the edge of like pain or being scared. That's where growth is. So yeah, I agree with you on that for sure. Who's the ideal investor or partner in this deal? And how can they get a hold of you? Like, how can they get involved?
Well, my ideal investor would be, first and foremost, a philanthropic person that wants to also elevate communities and help people live the final quarter of their life thriving instead of just surviving, so that they have an interest in more than ROI. They're going to get beautiful ROI, but I want it to be a person that also, I'm able to work with, who cares about people, cares about the people we're going to be hiring for the jobs, that are caring for these people and all of that. So there'll be an experienced investor, maybe somebody that's done, group investments before, maybe not, but they're at least aware and informed about them. And they're a risk taker. They're an adventurous person and willing to try something new. And they need to be, I don't require accredited, but they're going to end up being accredited if they've got the kind of money we need for this project.
Yeah. And if one of the listeners out there say, hey, Panama, the Caribbean, 55, providing this new community, this culture, and then the nomad piece, caring for people, not only caring for the return, but caring to improve the lives of everyone involved in this new community, this new culture, basically. How can they get in touch with you?
They can find me on LinkedIn. I'm Anne Michelle Wan with a page for Passive Profit Partners. I have a website that's passive-profit-partners.com. So they can find all my contact information on either of those two places.
That's amazing. And we're going to stick that in the show description as well, too. Thank you again for your time. I wish that I could just look out the window and see what you're seeing. Thank you so much. We're here with you on this journey. We would love to maybe have you back again once maybe the land's selected, and maybe I know what it's like. So you got the land that day, you're like getting close to breaking ground. Oh, I'm living this with you, Anne Michelle. Thank you so much for being here. Keep us in the loop.
Well, thank you so much for having me. This was fun and exciting, and I'm so glad that you were interested and would help me promote.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Enjoy the Caribbean for us.
Absolutely. Come visit anytime. The beach is right next door.
So wonderful. Hey, that was a clear reminder that real estate isn't just about ROI. It's about building something that aligns with your values and creates lasting impact. Anne Michelle is showing us that you can lead with purpose and deliver results. Please reach out to her. You can find her on LinkedIn. Also, her website is www.passive-profit-partners.com -- I believe that's the same thing. It's in the show description as well, too. So thank you again for your time. Reach out if you have any interest in learning more about the process, the opportunity, or the beautiful land of Panama in the Caribbean as well too, reach out to her. Thanks again for listening. Thanks for your time. And as always, thank you for your attention. This is the Real Estate Mogul MD.
This episode is powered by Crescent Tech. If you are looking for a CRM built for real estate investors, discover Streamline REI by Crescent Tech. Simplify, automate, close faster.